We do have 5136 on Lori's consent calendar, but we do not have 5136.0. If, just want to have a discussion of it so we can start moving forward with it. The rumors I'm hearing from teachers and staff, well, from educators, staffs, and some students, I just want to make sure that we can be supportive to the administration rules as best as possible.
What's that regarding? Just
Cell phone policy.
Okay.
Do we need a motion to approve that and add that into the budget, or could we do it in board coordinations, or?
We'll amend it as.
Okay.
Yeah, technically, the board member asks for something to come out of the consent calendar. It comes out of the consent calendar.
Item number 4. Okay, I gotta go back to item number 3, I'm sorry. All those in favor of the agenda as it reads, please indicate by saying aye.
So, question, are we
What's
adding?
amended?
Oh, yeah, I'm asking to add, to talk about 3.1.06. Sorry, let me try it again. I'm asking to add 5136.001 to the agenda. It's not in the consent calendar. 5136 is in the consent calendar, is part of the policies we're talking about. But the 1.001 is actually the cell phone policy, which we would like to roll out to make sure that our students are set. It's not on there.
01 is and
01 is,
yeah.
6 is, 01 is not on there.
Is this the first reading?
This is
The
the
second
second reading.
Second reading, so, okay, so it can't be a part
There's the there's two,
of
one is
this, but it can still be discussed.
devices, one more cell phone.
Well, that or elected.
One of them is one.
Yeah,
What, the cell phone was missing.
the cell phone's one missing, but the devices are there.
Okay.
I'm actually going to see if we can have a separate conversation, so we can, that's what I'm asking, a separate conversation, so we can get more in depth and get some feedback from our administrators and make sure that, and see what we can do to help our administrators as best as possible. But I do feel, as I float around the district, I do feel that we need to be helpful as soon as possible instead of this and that.
So leaving these as it is and adding a separate item to discuss the policy that's not listed, because we have not done a first reading of that one yet either.
We have
We
not.
have not.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you.
Okay.
I wanted to have a brief discussion about tours for prospective parents. Do you think we could add that as an agenda item?
We can't,
It might be related to the
here,
administrative
but we can add it.
report. I
So
just
I can understand the question.
Yeah, because I wanted to make sure that if I included that in my board coordination, that it didn't become a full-fledged discussion. So if it just is not much to discuss, then we'll be pretty quick.
Okay, do we need to amend the agenda at this point? or
Where are these going to be at?
Do you want to do it in board coordination?
Well, I thought, yeah, you could put it under board coordination, but just as a separate item. Anytime prospective parent tours / onboarding, which I think Dr. Banks will be sharing about anyway.
Okay, item number 4, approval of the organizational meeting and budget hearing on January 3rd, 2025. Do I have a motion?
Do we need to vote on the?
I think we need,
Yeah.
so I don't know, I've put a motion there, I don't know if I can actually second it.
Yeah, we have to vote on the
I'm still
agenda.
unclear,
So are we adding it on to the 3rd or not?
Yes,
I'm just-
I guess, can we put a vote to see if we can add the cell phone policy conversation, or at least have a conversation to have a special committee to talk about it?
I think we can talk about the cell phone policy. It's not prepared in a way for any action to be taken on it. Like,
That's fair.
we have not had, as the administrators, anything to bring to the board or discuss with the board, because we were going off of this year, the pilot, basically what's being done at the secondary campus. See how that goes based on the feedback from the administrators, then come to the board with a proposal to be in compliance with the July 1 date, or that's the state's asked for. So that's kind of where that's at right now. So we can have a conversation, absolutely, but I don't think unless we're writing policy during this meeting, that there's a policy to take any action on tonight.
I'm just asking for the start of a conversation.
Yeah.
I think that would be great to have.
So could we just do it in board coordination? Yeah, probably be the best.
Should it be in board coordination?
That's fine,
Okay.
you guys, sure. Both
Okay.
items, board coordination?
Yes.
Okay.
Back to item number 3, additions to the approval of the agenda. All those in favor of approving the agenda as it reads, please indicate by
Well,
saying aye.
And amended, you should say.
And amending
And
it.
amended.
All say aye. Okay. Item passes. Moving on to item number 4, approval of the organizational meeting and budget hearing on January 3rd, 2025. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Second.
Should that
Okay.
say minutes from, approval of the minutes from,
I don't know specifically the grammar
it
behind
probably
it.
should read the minutes from, approval of the minutes from the organizational meeting.
Yeah, were they not sent out?
They were.
Yeah, it just says
Yeah,
out the.
he's just, Andy's just
Yeah.
pointing out the adding.
The
words
wording.
Minutes from to the number 4.
Okay.
Okay, minutes, thank you.
All those in favor of approving the agenda as it reads, indicate by saying aye if you don't have any further discussion.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item passes. Moving on to item number 5, administrative report. Laurie?
All right, we're gonna start, are we ready for our RPM?
I don't understand.
Yes. Oh, okay, we're gonna start with our restorative practice peer mediators. Ms. Tammy Dietz is here, and she's gonna share the work that
I
they're
have
doing.
two students with me. You can come stand over here. I have Olivia Lester with me, and 8th grader Jamari Sanders with me. And before I let them kind of share this, I wanted to let you know that we want to thank you guys for supporting the work of the RPMs when we go to Camp Campbell Garden training them. We did that this November, 15th and 16th. We took 14 students with us to train them in restorative practices and peer mediation. We currently have 64 students in grades 7 through 12 who are trained as peer mediators, which is about 11% of our student population, which is kind of cool. And the numbers just keep growing each year. This is our 4th year of the program, and we've had 6 different training sessions with students. So tonight, Dr. Banks has asked us to share a little bit of our story from the student's perspective, and I'll answer any questions too, but I'm going to turn it over to them and ask you guys both, and I'm going to let Olivia go first. Tell us about, because now Olivia's gone twice, because she went to be trained as an RPM, and then this last time she came along as a senior to be a trainer with me. So we led the training. There's supposed to be more seniors than Olivia, but Olivia was the only one this year, and we had an absolute ball. So I want Olivia to tell you a little bit about her experience at the RPM retreat.
Okay. Hi, I'm Olivia. Basically, I came here last year as a transfer, and when I signed up to be an RPM, I absolutely did not know what it was. So, when I signed up, and I got a recommendation from one of my favorite teachers, we went on to Camp Campbell Guard, and I basically just got to know a whole bunch of people who I didn't know, and who were just in like the same boat I was as far as the RPM training. And ever since then, I've been either in the RP room or just helping out as best I can.
Yeah, and she's been a joy and a pleasure. Jory, what did you think about the experience at camp in November?
I went into it, like Olivia said, not really knowing what it was. But it was fun, and I learned some pretty helpful things, like my friends get into arguments, I could help settle it and everything. It was fun. I met a lot of cool people too. It's like a good experience that I recommend to other people.
We talk a lot about, and at the camp, we talk about how you'll be able to use this with your friends and family, and it's a life skill that you'll have that no one will ever be able to take away from you. And so I think that these two especially have really embraced that. What do you think, Jamari, have you used skills? What helped you the most?
I have,
Can you give us an example?
the other day, my friend got into a scuffle, and I was helped sort it out, and I decided not to pick any teams or anything, and I was asking questions like, how do you feel?
Nice.
How do you think that affected the other person? and it really helped them, you know, mend their relationship a little bit more.
It's amazing. Thanks for sharing that. Olivia, how about your experience in the art room? Can you tell us about anything that's happened there?
So like different people do come in and sometimes they have arguments, sometimes they just want to sit and just talk. Sometimes they don't want to talk at all. So basically either one time there was like these two kids who came in the RP room and they got in trouble for like around the same exact thing. And basically I just talked to them about like, was this a good idea? Was this a bad idea? How could you fix it? How could you make the teacher like trust and believe in what you're doing?
That's good. And what I've heard from both of your stories is the fact that you talk about, no, don't give advice. Ask questions because the person has the solution within them. And you guys are help bringing those solutions out in your peers, which is amazing. One last thing. What do you, and I want to phrase it this way, what value do you feel restorative practices provides to your community?
It helps bring more peace and not the hatred, like all the anger and everything, and like help.
I think you're doing a great job.
Stops all the anger and the hatred, and brings more.
Yeah, gives people a chance to have their voice. What do you think? Anyone to add to that?
What I say, but also like it brings like trust and honesty within like people and like giving them an opportunity to like say what they need to say, but then also like hear both sides of the stories and not just take one.
Yeah.
Because there's always three sides.
Everybody gets their chance to tell their story. Thank you. Do you guys have any questions from these amazing up here?
When you guys do the RP, does everybody do the circle every time they're in the restorative practice room, or does it just kind of fluctuate depending on the circumstance?
It fluctuates depending on the circumstance. Sometimes big groups of people who are in the same situation, we get in a big group and we talk to them about it. But if there's like different people with different situations, different like, we have big circles and then we have like chairs and tables around the area. So like whoever's in a different situation, we can talk to them, and whoever's in like a bigger situation, we can talk to them in a circle.
Do you think it helps having peers being the mediators versus having adults who kids think maybe they don't understand or don't see everything? Do you see any benefit from that?
I see a benefit because like students can see it from a different perspective than teachers can, because teachers may think differently than students, because some students could be in the same situation one day, or they could also just like understand like where the student's coming from.
This might be a question for Jamari and what's your name again?
Olivia.
And Olivia, maybe one of you guys can answer this, but how often do you know someone's coming, and how often do you not know? Like, how much time do you have to plan to have the conversation with the other students?
Jamari's situation will be different, so
Okay.
I'll let you tell
Okay.
how that's happened than Olivia, because she's in the RP room.
Okay.
Since she's older, and he will be eventually.
Awesome.
Yes. So I don't really do RP. Well, I hope I can later on. But everything that I settle is usually in a group chat. So I see it coming, and this happens a lot. So I just like have all the questions ready to go. But Olivia's is definitely different.
So basically we get a call from the teacher saying like they're on their way and this is what they did. So like when the teacher tells us what they did, we kind of like in our minds have time to like ask questions, and then like the teacher who's in the RP room with the other like students will like say like what they did, and basically we'll just come up with like questions on how to defuse the situation.
And the questions from training are all very similar, so they get at the heart of the matter by asking those questions. So,
Thank you both.
anything?
Well, Olivia, you said that sometimes you get people coming back with the same, or similar, or just the same. How do you handle that a little differently?
How do I handle it differently?
Yeah.
So for like this, like they come back for the same situation.
Same or similar? Yeah.
Same or similar situation. So basically, it depends on the person because the person can come back for the same situation depending on who they are or who they act around. So if they come back, like in the same day, they will get a consequence. But we still try to talk them down to like understand where they're coming from because sometimes we don't know like what their mind is or like what they're going through because I just don't know.
Until we ask.
Jamari, I've got a quick question. Is there a situation that you're most proud of that you helped diffuse?
I think it was my friends talking about other people's dead parents. I think that was like the most that I could, actually step in.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it because it was like a touchy subject, but
That student really appreciate you stepping in and helping out. Well, that's very commendable.
That's great.
That's awesome.
I've got a quick question for you, though.
Sure.
It's 14 students this year.
Mhm.
How many students last year?
I'd have to look, but I
Okay.
think it was around 20. It's
Around
always
20.
it's always 24 or a little less.
Okay, so-
Because we ask 4 people per grade level.
Okay.
We invite 4 people per grade level, and then depending on if they accept or not.
So this time was just a little bit smaller than
A
last
little
time.
bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it kind of fluctuates.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
I
you.
want to, if you don't mind, because they gave up their time tonight. I want to honor them with a certificate of honor for their commitment to restorative practices. So Olivia, thank you.
Give my hand.
And for her. It was great. It was fantastic. And Jamari Sanders, thank you so much. All those up there. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
guys. Good
Thank you so
job.
much for coming.
Accepting the invitation.
They did a great job. Yes, see our students.
Facilities update?
Yeah, so, and then I have also our discipline review. So in terms of facility update, as some of you may know, but I just wanted to point it out there again, the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission is in the process of approving a budget adjustment for our secondary campus project. We talked about it at our organizational meeting, but not in the space of a regular meeting, so I wanted to bring that up again. We'll provide some relief from the price escalation, so we're very appreciative of that. We are also looking to have our track redone this summer. We're in the process of that. Gerald and Grant are working with the vendors to secure that. That would start, I believe, right after track season ends. And then we've completed the installation of the air conditioning in the gym in the 100 building. So if you're in our gym, you will see the new piping. I don't know if I'm using the right words, but we're ready to go. So now we will have air conditioning, which will be awesome for our summer training and our more heated sports season. So
You said the gym and
the 100 building.
both of those.
Mhm,
Okay,
yep.
separate projects. Okay.
Yep, and those were all done leveraging our extra dollars.
And the
So-
100 building is replacing the existing air
Yes.
conditioning. Okay.
So that's really all I have for facilities unless Dave or Grant wanted to add anything, or Anita? No? Okay. I'll do this one second. I also wanted to take a minute just to remember Peggy Battistone. I had shared with the community in an update, she passed away on Friday. The elementary is going to close on Thursday so that anyone who wants to attend her service is able to. And then anyone who worked with her from secondary campus is going to work with Carol if they feel moved and want to be at that ceremony as well. Peggy, just a little bit, she was hired in December of 1995, and she has been with our district working with our with disabilities and just has done a fantastic job, and with our most youngest kids. So, and I know she worked at the Y, and just, yeah, she will be missed, so.
She touched a lot of families in the district. I don't know a family who didn't know her.
Yeah.
She started when I was in kindergarten, like the year before I went into kindergarten, so.
Yeah. And so I did notice, we had put something up on social media, and just reading through some of the comments, it was very touching. I also wanted to share, we have happened in the first part of January, starting with Wildcat Wellness Week. That was last week. That was a partnership. The idea started. Eric came over and said, "What do you think about this?" I'm like, "Okay, let's try it." Eric, Jen, and Gerald did the bulk work in partnership with Deer Park and their admin team, along with the administrators at secondary campus, and really pulled off a pretty awesome event for those who were able to be there. We were to play a varsity basketball game at 1 o'clock with the gym packed, all around, and bringing attention to mental wellness, which is definitely something that we always focus on. We had partnerships. Interact for Health was great enough to buy the t-shirts for everyone. 1 in 5, unfortunately, because of the cold day, they weren't able to facilitate a meeting between Deer Park and Finneytown students, but that's been rescheduled, so that's still going to happen, and we're excited about that. Our athletic boosters, along with Deer Park athletic boosters, bought tickets for our students, and then that money will get turned around and be donated for mental wellness. So it was an awesome experience all around. Our boys won, and our girls, Deer Park girls won, but there was a great time had by everyone. Channel 12 did some coverage on it, so if you Google it, you can see that. So yeah, it was a good time. Quick update on our Youth Advisory Council. They are meeting tomorrow. They're in the process of planning a retreat for our freshman students. There's also an information night tomorrow night for our students who are interested in attending the National Leadership Conference. And so we actually have some people who facilitate that coming down to join us for the Youth Advisory Council tomorrow, as well as to be there tomorrow night and share that information with the parents who are considering that. We have funding for 20 students to attend that, which is pretty awesome. And if we get more, Sandra George promised we'd figure it out, so I think we will. So we're excited about that opportunity. This past Saturday, we hosted our childhood providers, and we hosted instead of Stronger Connections, you'll hear me say Building Connections. And so we had providers come in, Cindy Cron, Sandy Crowell, Meredith, Jesse, and Tom, as all hosted them. We talked about strategies around sensory integration, around social development, and what skills that we're trying to partner with our early childhood providers to put in place so that when they come to us, they're ready to go and enter kindergarten. So that was a great event. Policies, I know we talked a little bit about that. I'll save that for board coordination. I did just want to share, because I know it was an area of interest previously. We have, with our band and orchestra and music program, we have come up with our next iteration of the plan for our music program next year, particularly at the elementary. So next year, our 5th grade band and orchestra programming will happen in the school day twice a week. And then our current 5th graders who go every day during X period, they will transition, and moving forward, it will be for our 6th graders before school. And so we've seen a lot of benefits, and then we're going to continue that work and figure out what that looks like moving forward for the next iteration. But we're hopeful that this will continue to grow our music program and opportunities.
Is there anything that we can do for our current 6th grade that's, well, they're only going 1 day a week, and the current fifth grade. Is there anything that we can do for the 6th grade, or just when they get to 7th grade, we can get them caught up that way?
Brad and Sam and Daniel will get them caught up in 7th grade. I think that's our plan right now.
Okay, fair enough.
So yeah, but yeah, we'll, they're continuing to work with them and trying to keep them engaged. It is hard, and that's what we've learned, but 1 day a week is not something we want to continue. So we're all on the same page with that.
So
Thank you
5th will
for
be
the
twice a week
Yeah.
instead of 1 day a week.
5th grade will be twice. And then I did want to, because we've had a lot of winter weather, and I've received some emails or some questions about that, just briefly go over our winter weather protocols. We don't have a surefire way of making the decision, to be quite honest. We look at the wind chill, we look at whether there's snow on the ground, we look at when it's hitting, and we do our best judgment. I'm on a string of texts with other superintendents, and we try to make our best guess and our best decision. I do always take into consideration not only our students getting to school, but our students have the opportunity to come to school where they might be getting a warmer environment or their meals for the day. So there's a lot that goes into the decision, as well as if the road or when it hits, we also have to worry about staff getting to and from work. So there's a lot that goes into that decision. My goal, not only for all of our families and our staff, but also our maintenance crew who works really hard to get this space set up if we are in session, as much notice as possible. So I just appreciate, if people have questions, I'm more than happy to answer them, and they can email me. And students have, I've had several students reach out to me, which I think is kind of great. So, but just know it's never made lightly. I do want to put that out there. All right, let's do the discipline review real quick. Any questions on any of that? So we're at the first semester of the implementation really of year one of our strategic plan. And so I just kind of wanted to give you guys some updated information. So there's going to be some trend data, and then there's going to be data just regarding first semester of this current school year. Just our mission, and I think this is something, especially when we're talking about discipline, to always keep centered, is we are really working to foster a community of learning and belonging. And so when we talk about belonging, we really need to think about, okay, who feels like they belong, who doesn't, and how does that show up possibly in some of the behaviors and or infractions that we're seeing? And what can we control and what can't we control? And then our vision is to be a learning community centered on strengths and possibilities to empower our students and staff to think critically, grow intellectually, and live with integrity. And our why, and I think if we can live our why, our discipline and our culture will be a thing of positivity. So, which is to nurture each person's sense of self so they know they matter. Because when you know you matter, you feel like you belong, and all those things start to come together. So, I thought this was a great way to start us off. Discipline is most effective when it's restorative, thinking about our restorative peer mediators and all the work we do around restorative practices. It's focusing not on punishment, but on repairing harm, building understanding, and fostering growth for all involved. When we see something that goes against who we want to be, or we have a student who has committed some offense, that is a learning opportunity. So in the same way we're trying to teach reading, we need to constantly be thinking about how are we teaching behavior, how are we creating those to feel like they belong. All right, this enrollment data was taken from October of 2024, so just know that it's slightly different now. This just gives an overall picture of our student body and what the makeup is. And so I think this will come into play when we get a little further along and look at some of the disproportionality in our discipline data that we're currently kind of trying to figure out how to respond to. This is the breakdown by grade level. As you can see, we fluctuate. Our lowest class has 77 kids, our highest class 115. So we're anywhere in that range per grade level. I think I put this in here because I think a lot of people sometimes think our secondary campus is our biggest campus. Our elementary have more students on site than the secondary. We have 75 of our students that go to the Oaks in 11th and 12th grade, which is an awesome opportunity because the Oaks has fantastic programs, but it also impacts the number of students we have on our campus on any given day.
Ironically, too. Do we have any still going to CCP, or CCP's on campus now?
We have CCP on campus and we have students going off campus for
We don't
CCP. With that, I don't have those numbers.
Okay.
No, but I can get them.
I would also like to just call out, when we go to talk about attendance and our enrollment, we're going to see a dip next year because our largest class, by far, and it's not even close really, the next 2 years, the largest two classes are going to drop off because they graduate. we will likely see enrollment go down because replacing those high numbers is going to be difficult to do.
Yeah, there's really, I can't necessarily pinpoint rhyme or reason, because like first grade, we have 106. So, which is the challenge with kindergarten, because we never know if we're gonna have 4 sections or 5 sections. So we are gonna do an intentional enrollment day this year in person, which we've done in a while. That'll be in March, to try to get those enrollments for kindergarten even earlier. So we're trying to talk about how we can do that and have a better idea, because it does impact staffing. So it's important to know. All right, this is an overview of the last 4 years, and I picked the last 4 years predominantly because that's when I started in this position, coming out the first year we came back from in-person, full person, So, if you look at this, this is our trend data for discipline offense. We have 4 primary categories that show up more than others: defiance, disrespect, physical aggression, and truancy. So we'll talk a little bit about that as we go on. Truancy is predominantly at the secondary campus. And so that is being late for class, skipping class, it's skipping, not being late, that's tardy. So, but that's some of those are the ones that repeatedly each year we're seeing high numbers of. For baseline this year, which we only have 1 semester, which shows up in the green, it does show we are currently on pace to be below all of last year's numbers in those categories. And I'll talk a little bit more about what we've learned from this as we move forward. This is our current breakdown for the first semester of discipline offenses. One of the challenges currently is how we're reporting this in our public school works. One of the things we've recognized is we need to clean up what we can put in so we get more consistent output from it. Right now, there's 3 different ways to put physical aggression in that show up differently. There's some nuances. There's another other category that causes some confusion. So we've got some work to do. Bullying should not be in there as an allowable click because that requires an investigation, and so we can't put bullying until the investigation's complete. Once it's complete, then that's a different database and reporting system that we have to put it through. So we're working through some of those protocols and systems that clean that up a little bit.
Who's it that fills that out? Is that teachers or admin?
What's that?
Is it teachers that are filling this out or admin?
Teachers typically, but our admin also, especially our APs, a lot of times will put in because they respond when it might escalate and the teacher needs some assistance.
Can you help me understand the difference between defiance and disrespect?
No, and that's why we need to pick it up. I truly can't. It's and disrespect, I think, is one of those things. It depends on who the players are, and what one person considers disrespect might be not disrespectful to somebody.
Okay.
And so that's one of the things we have to have more conversation about and figure out, and it's a challenge for sure.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
So this is our trend data in terms of our response. So one thing is focus room didn't come into play until, I think last year was our first year with the focus room, or was it 2 years ago? Okay. So what we have found is we are increasing the use of the focus room, and the focus room can be used, it's assigned by an administrator, and it's typically when somebody is coming back from a suspension or when there's been an infraction that requires more reflection and learning about how that impacted others around them. So that's something that has been added. Currently, we do not have in our system a place where somebody can mark they've had a restorative conversation, which doesn't align with what we're asking our teachers and staff to do. It has conference with student and it has conference with parents, but we do want to look, that's another thing in the system, reporting system, that we want to look to shift. And we can, we just haven't done it yet, so that's one of the things. We have been and continue to focus on reaching out to our families and having conversations with our students. when there is an infraction or an offense that has happened. The thing that I am most excited about, and I think is good, is we've seen and are on track to have a reduction in our out-of-school suspension and our emergency removals. And why this is important, our kids can't learn if they're not here. And so we need to do everything we can to figure out the cause. It needs to be a conversation between the people harmed. If there was harm caused, have that, reflect on the behavior, what's going to happen differently, and keep our students in class. So we're working on and figuring out how we can continue to do that.
Can I ask briefly, the suspension, is that the bars, it's hard to say, the one that says suspension without the I, that's out of school suspension?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this year we're only halfway through the year. If it continues, it'll still be less than last year,
Yeah.
if it continued at the same rate.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a pie chart.
One of the things you'll also notice, similar to what I said about infractions, that we have too many options. We have too many options, and a lot of them you can see have nothing because we don't use them anymore. We just got to clean that up. So we got to remove some of those, figure out what are our responses going to be, which response do we use for what scenario. I will also say, and I should have started with, behavior is so nuanced. A lot of times the administrators all get an email asking, well, my child was involved in this. I know what my child received, but what did the other child receive? Well, we can't share that. FERPA prohibits us from sharing information regarding other students' discipline. And so I know that can be frustrating, but I think that's something I just want to put out there for the community to understand. And it is nuanced. There are things, whether it's, okay, has this happened 4 times, or is this the first time that's happened? Is it an ongoing situation that requires a further investigation, like maybe bullying is occurring? So it is very nuanced situation to situation. And it's something we collaborate on. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry,
Sorry.
I apologize.
No.
The focus room, is that where the student gets a chance to sit down and create a, what's it called? A behavior plan?
No, a
Or is
behavior
this-
plan comes from a different space altogether. So
Okay.
a behavior plan is typically something that's brought when we see repeated offensive behaviors.
Okay.
We will bring a team together. It typically includes our school psychologist, possibly a counselor, classroom teacher or teachers, and we talk about what are we seeing, and we try to figure out, we do what's called a functional behavior assessment to try to figure out what is the trigger for that child, and then how are we going to address it, or what behavior do we need to teach to the child so that they can replace the current behavior we're seeing. So those are done typically, they can come out of discipline. If we see a student who has a pattern, then, or if there is a out-of-school suspension for a student with a disability who hits a certain threshold, law requires us to do an FBA. So there are different pieces that can trigger an FBA and a behavior intervention plan. So, yeah.
So the focus room is just primarily just basically an in-school suspension once they come back from suspension. So it's not really any type of conversations or anything being had. Is that
No,
correct?
it's the intent of that time is to reflect on what happened and what needs to happen to move forward to return to class.
And they do
So-
that individually?
No, there's somebody always in, there's people in there to kind of work through it. There are times, absolutely, when we're doing classwork or other things like that. Like, it's not a full school day spent on the reflection, but that is the primary reason for that room, is to reflect prior to returning to the classroom.
So instead of actually putting them in the hall, they're putting them in the focus.
They're not sitting in the hall. No, they're in a classroom with other people to help process what happened and what they need to do
Yeah.
differently. Yeah,
So instead of, yeah.
yeah, we haven't been in the halls in a while, so.
Well, I know.
I mean, yeah.
It's a focus room at the elementary and the high school, or the secondary
We
campus?
do not
or-
have a focus room currently at the elementary.
Okay.
That's only at the secondary campus. Oh, there's- okay. All right, first semester, these are what we're currently using when we respond. Pretty even, I mean, there's nothing, we do have a lot of after-school program, which is detention, so kids staying after. that seems to be going. But we are conferencing still with students and parents, which is an important part of families, so.
Do we find anything that's working better than, I mean, I know it's subjective, I know every kid is different and everything else, but in general, do we find one of the responses working better than the other responses? Like, is the focus room working better than a detention with the teacher? Does that make sense?
It does. I can't answer that question. I would need our building principals and ask and have a conversation with them. What I can tell you, what typically determines the impact of it is the people involved. And so the relationship with either who is facilitating in the focus room and the student,
Okay.
the conversation between the teacher and the student, if it's strong, like, it comes down to relationships. It really does. And so that's what I can tell you. When there's a significant relationship between a student and someone else involved in trying to repair or get that student back in the classroom, that's when we have the most success.
Do we have any like resources for the students if they're suspended, like places they could go to do community service or some type of activity? That way they're just not at home and they're still, you know, somewhat active and engaged in the community.
So we don't, that we actively use as part of the discipline process. What I can tell you is we try to minimize the amount of time any student's out. So it's rare that a student's out for more than 2 to 3 days at a time, unless there's an infraction that's pretty significant or an investigation that's being done that takes more time. So as quickly as possible, we want to get them back in class, so. All right, this is our demographic trend data. This is important because this talks about our disproportionality. And so what you can see is there are three categories of students who are disproportionately represented in our discipline. One is our African American students. The other is our students who are experiencing economic disadvantage. And then the third category outside of disproportionality is our students with disabilities. Those are our three primary that are out of line. Right now, our green, I mean, we're looking much better this year. One thing I will say about the 22-23 school year, and it'll show up in the next slide, that was our alternative calendar for the opening of FE. And so what you will see is the second half of the year, because we went so late into June, our referral, everything was up. So that calendar did not work well for our staff or for our students. So that is one thing you'll notice. And then I think this is a good comparison of our current makeup of students. So we have 46.9% of our current students are African American, but they're making up right now 75.7% of our referrals. So what that's telling me is there's a disconnect, most likely cultural awareness, different bias that maybe we may know, not know. There's just some learning there that we probably need to do, and we are doing, but need to continue to do and reflect on and ask us what's behind that. The other area, oh, it's on the next slide, I'll go to that. That is the one that is most significant in terms of race. When we look at this, we look at our disproportionality and our students with disabilities. Right now, we have 17.63% of our students identified on an IEP. So there are more students identified with a disability who are on 504s, but just our students on IEP make up 17.63% of our student body. They're accounting for 24.4%. On top of that, the natural occurring rate of disability in our country is around 11 or 12%. So we have some concerns that we're possibly over-identifying students with disabilities, as well as they're disproportionately being disciplined than our students without disabilities. So there's just some things we gotta question and ask, and we are, so. But that's something that's currently out of the line. And then currently, which is the first year I'm gonna this data, but our economically disadvantaged students right now are below, significantly below where they have been in years past in terms of being disciplined. So. Reports per day, per month. All right, this is our red year. This is when we went to June. Point that out. That's not a good year. Had some challenges. Right now, green every month except for August, we were below the referrals of the past 3 years.
And the biggest change is the cell phone policy.
What's that?
The biggest change is the cell phone policy.
But
Oh, sorry.
if you look at the data and offenses, cell phones did not contribute to the numbers we're seeing. At least not directly.
That's what I'm saying.
Not directly.
I think it's hard to just contribute it to one thing. I mean, like you said, the timing. If you think about 22 and 23, where were our teachers mentally? How many of them were burning out and overwhelmed, just like us as parents, who probably also contributed to the numbers because we were burnt out, overwhelmed. So many factors go into this data.
Yeah. It truly is nuanced. It does look like March or April and May, which honestly, I've never looked at the data in this format before. I think a story I've often told myself is October is such a hard month because in years past we have not had a fall break, but the numbers actually suggest March, April, and May are pretty, that last quarter of school, people are ready to, spring fever or something going on.
Ironically, that's when testing happens too.
And testing, yeah. There's just a lot of different things, again, factors that go into it. This is a report by grade level. What you will notice if you look at the cohorts, which I find interesting, this cohort, and I remember this 9th grade class, Carol and I talked a lot. But if you look at them as juniors and then, or sophomores and then now as juniors, the referral rates continue to drop. So our kids are learning, they're making adjustments, and we're not seeing the same group of students with the same number of referrals. Middle school, that middle chunk tends to hike up a little bit. Because I think one thing we gotta remember is our kids are kids. And kids are going to make mistakes, and kids are going to have infractions, and that's just part of being a child, and they are children. And so part of our job is to help them learn from those and move on. It doesn't define them. It's just something that does happen, and we just got to learn from it. First semester trend data shows most grade levels to be on track to have lower rates than last year. Now, that could shift, but... All right, root cause, what's all this? So I talked a little bit, lack of alignment with our practices and reporting, that's contributing to some. Inconsistencies due to too many options or differences in interpretation and reporting. One of the things we're working on is meeting regularly with our building administrators around discipline to get more consistency, so what we're reporting and sharing out is the same between buildings or similar. It's not going to be exactly the same because what we see in 12th graders might not be the same as a first grader, but cultural awareness and sensitivity, I think just understanding who's in the room and seeking to understand versus jumping to this idea of you're wrong, you're not listening to me, therefore you're disrespecting me. So there's some of that piece similar to what the RPM said before, being present, asking questions, and listening to what's really going on before assuming that it's disrespect or disobedience. Lack of relationship or connection for our staff or our students to our learning environment or staff. So we do have some kids who don't feel like they belong here. I mean, that I can say that. I've met a couple of them. And so we're always thinking, what can we intentionally do to make sure at least every single student has a meaningful connection to somebody on staff? We hope they have more, but we want our kids to have that safe space person to go to within our community. We have a lot of kids that have a whole bunch, but we have some kids that struggle. And so our goal is to make every space welcoming to each and every child. So
I feel like the family groups is something that helped that in the past. I know we're not doing that this year, but I feel like that was a place for students to, feel like they belong and kind of engage with other people they wouldn't normally engage with. Do you know why they stopped doing the family groups, or you guys just continue doing that, or?
I don't know. I know Patty Ferris led a lot of that, and she left. I do know they were reimagining this year, and I'll get to that because I have a slide for each building about some of the things that each building is doing, and then what we're doing as a district. So, then, like I said, just a lack of community in some of our spaces. So, shifting the system. What we're trying to do. Learning, we're always learning in conversation with each other, trying to reflect on how we can show up for our students. Focus on building community. Our students will learn if they have that meaningful relationship and connection to our staff and to each other. And that's the other thing. I was in a conversation today, and it's not just our connection to the teacher or the adult in the space, but to the other students. How are we really trying to build those connections? Leveraging small group conversations and learning. Our kids, all kids, adults, when we're in small groups, we retain more, we're more engaged. How do we leverage that? Align our reporting and practices, strengthen restorative practices. We feel like there's an opportunity to kind of revamp or strengthen RP. We feel like we kind of maybe lost a little steam and need to infuse it. Leverage our RPMs, the focus room, and restorative conversations across the learning community. And then design learning spaces that provide each and every student the ability to feel valued, be valued, and add value. All right, what's it look like at Finneytown Elementary? Right now, the PBIS team is meeting twice a month to review and improve the building-wide PBIS system. They are consistently reviewing the building routines and procedures to determine effectiveness and change needed. For example, I believe it was 4th grade, they were having some different challenges in the morning. Now moved to a grade level morning meeting that just started. There's some shifts in breakfast based on some things they've seen. So that is like an ongoing part of the reflection of what's working and what's not working, what can we address now and what maybe needs to be addressed later down the road. The implementation, Meredith and Jesse and Tom are doing quarterly wing meetings with staff to discuss what's working and the challenges in each wing. 3rd and 4th grade, there we go, weekly morning meetings. They just started that last week. And then 6th grade implementation of bells to increase student independence, improve transition, and prep them for the transition to secondary campus.
The learning community, are those students and, are those for students or for the teachers?
It's for students and
Okay, so they're all getting together to meet.
So the quarterly wing is for all staff or just certain select staff?
all staff in that wing. Yep.
Okay.
And then the secondary campus, we have the RP room, the utilization of RPNs. And as you heard, some are in the RP room, other are just in other spaces that have been trained and can use those skills with their peers. Focus room as an alternative to out-of-school suspension. Mind Peace room, we have students who self-select to go in there or go in there to recenter or refocus. Monthly staff meetings. We have the house system with the daily mentor group, where we're trying to build that connection and community. House system deans meet weekly to adjust, continually approve, and then monthly whole house meetings. And then we have just Wildcat Cup and Finney Gate, which are just community building fun events. And then at the district level, we started regular conversations with our building principals and assistant principals to explore current practices and possibilities. We're reviewing our protocols and practices to ensure alignment. And then just ongoing discussion, what does it look like to foster community learning and belonging? I know that was long-winded. Sorry.
That was great.
Okay.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Thank you
I
for
know that took a lot of
putting all
time.
that together.
I'll give you a hand for that. That was really good. Yeah. And that took a lot of work, a lot of for doing that.
And one last thing. All right, January is Board Appreciation Month. And so for our community, if you're not on social media, get on social media. No, go to our Facebook page. Each day, one of our board members will be highlighted. Today it was Jalecia for the next 5 days. Also, if you go to our website, there's a nice write-up article on the board and on each of them and their contributions. So, we do appreciate you all, and so I do have just little certificates of appreciation and thank you. Jalecia. Hold on, this is actually Amy's. Sorry.
Thank you.
I got ahead of myself.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're so great at putting this together.
Jalecia.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you
So
so
thank you
much.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, all done?
Yes, no problem.
All right, you did a fabulous job. Thanks for doing that. Item number 6, public address. I think we have one. Just have a few rules that I'll have to read beforehand. The board believes it is in the best interest and the best interest of the students of the district to hear comments from members of the public. It has been, therefore, a long-standing practice of the board to encourage and allow residents to speak at public meetings. This may be done by completing the bottom portion of this form and giving it to the board president prior to the board meeting. The following guidelines ensure that everyone interested in addressing the board may do so and that the board conducts the business of the school district in an effective and efficient manner. Number 1, attendees must register their intent to participate in public participation of the meeting upon their arrival at the meeting by completing this form and returning it to the board president or presiding officer. Number 2, each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. Number 3, for the public record, each speaker addressing the board must state their name, address, and the group affiliation, if and when appropriate. Any material handouts must be presented to the treasurer for record. Item 4, the naming of individuals, profanity, abusive language, and speeches, individual privacies will not be tolerated or permitted. The board will take no action regarding or issues presented through public address and the meeting in which the public address was made. All necessary follow-ups will be verbally or in writing at a later date. And I think we have Mr. Mike. If you want to come on up.
This person speaking to the turn of a form that they presented us
Get a
with.
form. Are you speaking as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, somebody else can, somebody did for me.
Okay. Could you fill out a form for us? The forms are over there.
I got that, you all received one.
Oh.
I can't fill out those forms.
Okay, that's okay. All right. You can,
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
you can go ahead, Mike. You have 5 minutes.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Michael Hammond, down on Brent Drive. My question or my comment tonight is what's next? We just witnessed a huge transition, but I think with the public education back in 1965 with Lyndon Baines Johnson, made some significant changes in how the development of public education was going to continue. Each president has made his mark along the way. Bill Clinton has made his mark. H.W. made his mark. His dad made his mark. And then King Long, Barack Obama, who probably made one of the more significant marks in public history with public education, with implementation of Race to the Top, which some consider to be slide to the bottom. That's where the slow transition of public education started to decline. It has nothing to do with quality of teachers. It has everything to do with the input that is being given to districts throughout the United States for them to implement, to follow. The teachers are to follow these, and the districts are to implement everything that the federal government tells them. A week ago, it's all changed. Donald Trump was inaugurated into President of the United States, and the next day he signed into policy the elimination of DEI through all federal government policies and a lot of corporations, and continual overhaul of every government entity, corporate entity, and international entity that he's going to be doing business with. The DEI is going to be removed. That's going to impact school districts. It's going to impact here, because what he wants to do next is eliminate the Department of Education at a federal level. What that's going to do is that's going to impact you as a board, because your jobs are going to be more complex, going to be more difficult, because the onus of education is going to be falling on your shoulders. It's going to be up to you to pick the curriculums, be more innovative with how the learning styles are going to go, how curriculums are going to be implemented. It might be impacting a lot of the funds that are going to be received. I don't think I've read anything yet on what is going to change, how it's going to change, where the money's going to come from that we rely right now on the federal government. That'll go away tomorrow. We don't know. But I'm here to ask you the question, what are you guys going to do, and how can parents and taxpayers of this community help you get involved and get prepared for this big, huge transition that could possibly occur in a very short period of time? With the DEI, at the federal level, it's going to be, he has acknowledged that there's only going to be 2 genders that are going to be notified and acknowledged on any government form and any government questionnaire. It's male and female, that's it. That's going to be a trickle-down effect. How are we going to handle that? As with our kids here, do we have significant problems with the identification here in this community? And what's going to be next? I wish you all luck, and Godspeed, and I think it's going to need a lot of communication from the parents to you, and from you to the parents and the taxpayers to see how this transition is going to take place. So good luck, and just let us know what we can do to help out.
Thank you, Mike. All right, if you'd like to come on up as well.
Okay, I'm Matt. I live on the corner on Cavalier Drive over there. I've been here several times and pretty much talking about, before I start talking about things I think are wrong, I guess mainly I come here because people, I don't think even know some of the things that are happening. I'll ask people, do you do this? And I don't know. That's a typical answer to any question I ask. I don't know if we do that or not. I don't know if we have that. If people be from honor roll to but I do appreciate the environment you're setting here. Our kids came home the other day and said, boy, school was fun today. So, and, they have a great time. You're trying to create a real good environment for the kids to learn, well, kids to be at. I'm not sure that what they're learning next, but you do feel as good as a parent or a grandparent. Kids come here every day knowing that they feel safe, they got people to go to. And my daughter was talking about, I didn't even know what the RQPM room was, but she said, do you have to get, how do you get there? She said, we just walk out. But anyway, I'll talk about some of the athletics. I've talked about it before. Again, I talked to somebody about, well, how's the soccer team or how's the football team? So we're okay, we're satisfied. And so when you got some statistics, this is what I call a decade of disappointment. Except the football, this is only typically in league games. That's the only thing that seems like apples to apples. Because, somebody can pick up 3 games that we could win, but they're probably dealing with their problems. But, the football team's been won in 10 years. Won 68 league games. 1 win, 68 losses. Volleyball, 4 and 115. 4 wins in 10 years. Soccer is 11-41. I don't understand how you can judge that, because a lot of those ties, I guess. 11-41 and 15. Girls soccer, 166 losses and 2 ties. Okay. Boys basketball, they're 25 and 111. And it's supposed to be, when I came here, I thought this was going to be a basketball community. But anyway, good positive things. Walked in here today, there's a kid out there shooting baskets. That's one thing. Got the little kids going, I don't know if the kids are, I saw them walk by here Saturday or something. A lot of kids playing in the gym, even tonight. I don't know if they're all our kids, but they're there. And I'll highlight here games, and the boys team, I think, is awesome. The 8th grade team is awesome. Girls, not so much. I don't even know if they know what the rules are. The boys, they got a couple kids. Look at Bill Walton out there. I mean, catching you down low, he didn't even start. I mean, this coach has got in mind, I don't care. They got some good players here, good athletes. So that's a positive. The problem is, can we get them to stay in our building? We're on an AAU team, and somebody's going to see them, There's already one guy that parents told us he's already signing up for Moeller. He's a good kid, athlete, stocky, fullback, type player, good basketball player. He told these guys, he said, I've been playing for years. And I don't know how I can fix that, but we can recruit them as hard as the kids that get away. I said one time, I think it was when Notre Dame had 3 or 4 big years. They were winning all their state championships. 3 of those girls supposedly came from out districts. They were on San Pedro. You don't think they could help us a little bit? But the coaches have to recruit those people. And I guess the big thing is who's responsible and who's accountable. I should say responsible. Who's accountable for what? Is it her? Is it the school board? Is it the athletic director? Is it the coaches? The general feeling I got is that we're here. I mean, it's not we. It's not probably me, but I don't have very much skin. I got a little bit of skin in the game, but they're going. There's problems occur to you guys every day. You shouldn't expect you don't. What page in the educational book does it say the kids couldn't swim, wish they're all swimming or something? How do you deal with those things? But I got that there just so I don't have to read all that stuff. You can read it yourself. And I think some of you would say, "Gee, I thought we had state champions. It's not soccer teams." I mean, we live in the past, and here's a simple thing. I got one of my is a cheerleader.
1 minute.
Okay. He's a cheerleader, and I noticed that they don't go to support the boys' teams. Well, I mean, you can keep it real simple, make a change, say, you're just going to stay out to all the home games. Then sometimes there's the boys, sometimes there's the girls. The boys are going one place, girls are going to the other place. The girls are staying here, or vice versa. So they just did all the cheerleading here in that building. I think it would work really well. They wouldn't have to travel with the boys and worry about getting riding on the bus. And just make a lot of times things are simple answers. But you got enough of them that are happening every day that aren't just sitting around. Good discussion. I feel sorry for you. I mean, I did it. I've been there and done it. Different problems.
Okay. Well, thank you both for being here and sharing. We will get back to you in the next week or so. Moving on to item number 7, review of action steps from last month. And it looks like there were none, so we can move on from there. Item number 8, board coordination matters. I can start. All right, first we can start. I know I emailed everybody that we needed to have special meetings lined up for next month. Did you guys get a chance to gather dates that would work for you? Are there certain dates that will not work in February for anybody?
Sure. Yeah, I saw your email, but I don't have a list of all of those. If we throw out a date, I can shout out whether it
Is
works.
it better to do? I know, Jamie, you can't do Mondays. It's better for you after, what, 5:30 or 6?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so-
It's Wednesdays and Fridays I can't.
And Wednesday evenings, or you said Wednesdays are not good for
Wednesdays
you?
and Fridays.
Yeah,
Wednesdays
Wednesdays are
and
also bad for me every week. I have a church commitment in the evenings.
Okay.
So Wednesdays and Fridays would be out.
And Mondays.
Who had issues
So what
on,
about
who had issues on
February?
Mondays?
Wednesdays, Mondays.
I
Okay.
can't do Mondays.
I'm just trying to finish.
Usually Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays are out, so Tuesdays or Thursdays.
Okay.
Yeah, so what about, let's see, February 11th, Tuesday, February 11th? Would that work for you, Laurie, and Dave as well?
Yeah, the 11th. What time would we be proposing?
And what's the earliest that everyone could get here? On Tuesday? It's on Tuesday.
Consistently, I can say 5:30.
The 11th,
You're not available? Okay. That's good.
What would the topic for the special meeting be?
So
Would
this
be
is
something
gonna
that Laura
be-
needs to be here for?
Yes, for the gender neutral bathrooms as well as the citizenship policy. So yeah, she would need to be here for that.
Well, actually, I've been advised not to be a part
Oh
of
yeah, I
the
forgot because of
one,
legal
yeah.
legality.
other
She,
one.
yes.
Neither of those?
Well,
Sorry,
for the citizenship one, right now, the way our policy reads, that essentially we follow the same requirements we do for any law enforcement who tries to come on campus and access our kids, which is parental. We go through our parents to the best of our ability, and we require subpoena and or some sort of legal action to gain access to students. So we do have certain protections built in right now to our policy. So I can't do that
And how long is that in place for now? What we currently have in place?
until you guys put something else in place.
And
I was the one that brought this forward.
Okay, no, that's-
And this
I
is
appreciate you
something that
bringing
I
that
want
up.
to discuss and strengthen.
that'd be good to get ahead of before there would be any future issues. I had my students even asking about that today. So you would not be a part of those discussions, either of those?
I can be a part of the citizenship and immigration conversation. The other one I've been advised not to.
So we're looking at that.
So maybe we could just start with, one topic and then, okay. Monday, February 10th, does that,
Monday,
I can't do
I
Monday.
forgot Monday's
So-
done.
If you do the 11th,
We just can't
I
do
can
it.
be available on the, oh, no, I can't.
Would Thursdays be better? A Thursday?
Thursday, February 13th, another date.
I'm available.
If it's on the early side, it works for me. Not good.
I can't be there that day, because I'm not important.
Maybe not for those
You are
discussions.
important, you're not needed.
Maybe you wouldn't
Not
need to be
needed.
there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So how does Thursday, February 13th at 5:30?
Sure.
That's,
Can I be excused? That's my son's senior night, I'm not joking.
Oh, is
It's
it?
not- It is, yeah. If you guys can meet without me, then I can give you feedback or anything ahead of time on what I've been hearing. But like, we are superintendent group met this
do you
morning.
think Laura needs to be there?
I don't.
I think we could just do it as a board and then you don't need to
Okay.
come.
Okay.
So then is the 11th back in, if Lori was the only?
Well, 13th is better for me, but I'm not sure if anyone else cares.
I don't care.
I have no preference.
I have no problem.
We'll stick with the 13th.
If that's
So
okay.
we'll plan a special meeting for that
5:30?
at 5:30, yep. All right, another thing I had brought up in conversation is the board self-assessment last year. I just kind of wanted to pick everybody's brain to see if you guys were interested in doing that again this year. I feel like we got a lot of positive feedback out of that last year. I think it kind of tipped off our strategic planning and all of that, so I wanted to see what you guys thought in regards to that.
Sure.
I thought last year, the summer session, when we had the SWOT evaluation, was really strong and really good, and it was a really good time to do it in between the years. My suggestion would be to do that.
Okay.
I'm open to.
More of a SWOT, okay. Did you guys want to shoot? I know last year, I believe we did it in May.
We did that right when school ended?
I think it was close to when school was ending, or was it
The
March?
SWOT analysis was in July with our board retreat.
Well, the board self-assessment.
Oh, was that the training one?
That was the one we had Cheryl Ryan come down.
That was
I'm
2
sorry, I
years ago.
misunderstood. I thought that was more of a
Was that 2
training,
years
not
I
a
think that was 2 years
Okay.
ago.
evaluation.
I don't think that was,
Cheryl,
No.
that was when I was still running. I was sneaking into meetings that I
Okay.
wasn't supposed to be.
so maybe that, yeah, I forgot you weren't a part of that. That was 2 years ago already. Okay. So which month did you guys want to do? April, May? or-
My
Does anybody have a
preference was
preference?
summer. I
So
thought
we did not do that last year, just to, right, okay, so 2 years. from now.
So you-
Okay.
2 years ago, we did it with
Yeah.
OSBA,
Yeah.
coordinating it. Last year, we did a SWOT analysis.
So the
So
discussion,
we did a swap during our retreat.
yeah,
Yes.
should we do OSBA, an OSBA-led one this year, is the question.
I guess to get you guys' feedback with what you guys prefer. I feel like Cheryl Ryan was a great resource for us to kind of keep us on track and to facilitate the meeting.
I actually interpreted it more of and less of an actual evaluation of the board. I thought we did better when it was just us having the conversations ourselves.
How do you feel about that, Eddie?
I would be fine to just do the SWOT, but I'm thinking more about that, some board members may not be here next year. It might, I don't know if we need to spend the money on leading the training when we could just do it internally.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think
What
the
do you
board's in a much better place than we were 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I don't,
For sure.
I
I agree.
think that helped get us
Yeah, I
to
think
where
it
we
did.
are. I think this SWOT analysis is a good approach. We also have the strategic plan to fall back on. Everything we should be doing should be directed by that strategic plan. So I don't think we have the need that we did 2 years ago, and I think that served its purpose, and I think we've done a lot better since then. And I think just a touch base back strategic plan and how we're doing on our deliverables. We just talked about discipline, and that's one of our deliverables. We need to highlight what's working, what's not, and that's where we're focused.
I actually have to agree with the rest of the guys, and including Eddie did bring up a point that this time next year we don't know what this board will look like. So for training wise, I mean, the nice thing is the OSBA gives many the leadership thing that you and I went to and
Board Institute.
yeah, that's it.
BLI.
In the early spring last
Yeah.
year. I mean, to me, that was helpful and beneficial. Doing a SWOT analysis after school, I think that also should be helpful to this board and next board, and then we can keep that pattern going. I feel that is best if we can, as a board, we can keep moving forward as long as we look at ourselves honestly, but that's something we do need to do. So.
You guys want to put a pin in it and we can revisit it?
Yeah.
All right, we'll put a pin in it, we'll revisit it. We're a
Thank you
couple
for bringing
months
it
out,
up.
but I did want to give you
Yeah.
guys an update and, because I mentioned it,
I
so.
appreciate the idea,
Sure.
and it's actually good.
Shifting gears a little bit, I'm going to move into student achievement. That's going to be my role again this year. I've done it the last 3 years. I did have some opportunities that I wanted to highlight. The Great Oaks, their application process is open for the next school year. The deadline to apply is on Tuesday, February 4th, which is my mom's birthday. Having an open house on January 30th from 5 to 7. CCP, they have a presentation on Thursday, February 13th from 5 to 6. It is in the Media Center for students interested in dual enrollment for next year. There will be a Cincinnati Youth Conference March 1st from 9 to 3 at University of Cincinnati. Students can explore opportunities post-secondary. Looks like there's an EMS opportunity. There's some applications available for that, and that'll be on April. Applications are open now through April 7th. You must be 17 years old or older to apply. Saturday, February 15th from 9 to 1, there will be a career expo at the TQL Stadium. Also, 20 Pearls Foundation will be accepting applications for scholarships, and the deadline for that is on March 2nd. Conferences are coming up February 13th, February 20th, from 3:30 to 7 at both campuses. There will be lots of support needed for that to make all of the luncheons happen, so keep an eye out for the sign-up geniuses for that. There will be no school day, obviously, on the 17th. Black History performance at the secondary campus as well. And then on February 26th, there are going to be some ACT testing. At the primary level, there's going to be Girls on the Run registration that is open now until February 9th. Girls volleyball registration is open as well, and baseball registration. And you have until February 28th to sign up. I also wanted to highlight, I will remain on the OSBA Task Planning Committee this year. I did it last year as well. We kind of planned for the conference to come in November. We provide feedback. If you guys have any feedback, if you're in the conference, feel free to let me know and I can share that. And we'll begin discussing topics and possible people who will be presenting at the conference. So, yeah. And I think that's all I had. Who would like to go next?
I can go. So as Jaleesa mentioned, there's several openings for sports signups going on. Feel free to take a look at those. I was looking at the board calendar for different events to go to. It does look like there's nothing for us to attend at the school until about March. There's a social going on March 7th. The musical is March 14th. It picks back up at that point. There's several things after that. Remember that the green highlighted items are the ones that they particularly want us to go to, so if you can, sign up for those. I did not get a chance to attend the boosters meeting this month, but I did talk to the leadership team, Maggie, and her response was really they need volunteers all the time. If you can volunteer for concessions, highly recommended. It is actually a lot of fun. It's kind of fast-paced and chaotic, but it's fun kind of chaotic. So please, if you can do that. They're also looking into different ways to earn money to replace formerly using at the Greek parking. They need to take care of that. So if you have ideas, please let them know. And then also, I really wanted to highlight some of the celebrations that we have at our athletics. This year, we've had a really good year for sports. We have several scholarships that have been offered already for our football players and our track runners. These scholarships are going to help these kids go to college and continue their education. We also anticipate several basketball scholarships to come our way as well. Other things we have, girls soccer has seen a record number of wins in the last 5 years. We have also seen wins in tournaments for the boys and girls soccer teams. And this was the first season that we had middle school cross country, and they had a very successful and good year. The boys basketball team won hopefully the inaugural Wellness Week game, which is a celebration. And then also outside of sports, these kids are representing our community very well, and they have raised over $3,000 for breast cancer awareness. So our athletes are doing tremendous work, and I would like to celebrate them for all their achievements. That's all.
Mine's quick. On the short 1 week notice, I wasn't able to go to the secondary PTA meeting, but I will be attending in February. And the other issue I was going to talk about was the citizenship and immigration situation, but that came up a little earlier, so I won't need to discuss it.
You want to elaborate a little bit more? And
So,
the way
so
you
basically,
presented
the
might be-
fear is that immigration, like ICE, come in and take kids in order to get their parents and round them up and take them out of the country. So I want to make sure that our policy gives our staff the information that they need if they follow what they are doing, what is like legal. Like I want to do this with Jason, with our attorneys. It's not let them in the building. It's we have to make sure that we are following. And immigration and customs will have different rules than law enforcement in terms of who they are. So I want to make sure that our staff knows just in case that happens. And there's a chance it will. So with our immigrant community here in the Finneytown local school district, I want to make sure that we're looking for the families that way. So.
Thank you, Jamie.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Anything for
Yeah, I don't have anything as far as like board coordination except for the agenda item. I wanted to add it as an agenda item just in case there was discussion. It may be very brief. But the reason I wanted it as an agenda item is because there might be those in the community that might be curious, and I think you already have all the answers to my questions, but in the prospective parent tours and is the agenda item. So in March, there is an opportunity for it's not stronger connections, for the building connections, and so there will be a date, and there a date for that in March, or
There are actually 2 dates. There'll be session 1 and session 2, so we ask parents to come to both. There'll be a morning session available and an evening one, so that we can try to get as accessible as possible for all. Session 1 will be March 6th, Thursday, and this is on our calendar, FMX, but the morning session will be at 9:30. And then the evening session will be at 6 p.m. And then the second session for families will be Thursday, March 20th, 2 weeks later, at the same times, 9:30 and 6 p.m. And part of that will be, again, that same team that hosted our early childhood providers will host our future and prospective families. And we'll meet and we'll do some learning, and then they'll be, so yeah.
Thank you. That's good information for me, because my wife was asking for it, because there's some Finneytown moms that are going to have kindergartners next year that don't have any students that are currently in our district, and they were asking, like, what are the details for so I wanted to make sure that I get that out to them. But then one question that I did have, because this was coming up with some community members that my wife had been discussing with, is there an opportunity for, if a parent were to request a tour to come during the school day, would that be something that would be that we do or not? Or do we have a policy on that? Or is it just kind of handled on a case-by-case basis?
Typically, we schedule tours and we try to schedule when school is not in session, just because they tend to be more disruptive than helpful. But we have done tours during the school day. If it's a prospective family for next year, we would give them the stronger connection or building connection dates and encourage them to come then, or we would try to schedule it at a time that was either at the end of the day or beginning of the day. So,
Yeah, I think it's a really good idea, but one of the challenges right now is just everybody's just so stretched thin and short staff. You'll find, like, even me the other day, I was, just visiting the school, Meredith was in a room, it's just some of those things that kind of come up, so, but.
My proposal was that I think that definitely prospective kindergarten or ninth grade parents, because those might be transition years, that they should be able to, I think that they should be able and even encouraged to come in for a tour school hours if it's on certain days. Wasn't sure how other board members felt, but I wanted to bring it up for a board discussion. I've suggested it previously, and it seems like that's something that your recommendation would be, we don't necessarily need to do that, but I've talked to enough parents that are like, I really like to come in during the school day, and I guess my proposal was that there could be dates. It'd be up, it's just really a superintendent's job of responsibility, but just I'd really like for parents to be able to come in during the school day at a set time for an hour. They don't have to observe class necessarily, but so that they could see our classrooms. And I think it would be a really good opportunity to showcase the great things that we're doing during school hours. Also, the other thing that I wanted to share with the board is that with Ed Choice, we really are competing with private and charter schools in a different way than we've necessarily had to compete in the past. There hasn't been that level, but the private and charter schools put out all their admissions information in the fall. So if we want to compete, we need to probably have all the preschool to kindergarten onboarding probably sooner, like probably February, and then we probably need to put out information in like November, because that's when parents are doing the application process. And that way we're out there on the parents' minds for those that may be on the fence or doing application processes.
the building connection actually start before their prospective kindergarten kiddos. So if they're 3-year-olds, we welcome them to come in and start with us that early. I think the other piece to remember is we do open opportunities like our PBL showcase, where we can invite community members in to see what's going on, or our athletic events are open. There are opportunities to see the great things that are going on that are not during the school day. I think one of the hesitations I have is there are people who don't always have the best intention coming into public school, and they will videotape you giving tours and asking you questions. That happened to several local school districts, which was then when we were advised by legal counsel and others to minimize tours during school operations. So I think that's just something for the board to consider when they
private charter schools have marketing staffs and budgets from all of the state dollars that they're
that
getting.
makes sense.
And they also can choose who comes and who does not come.
I just wanted to ask because I knew there were people who were asking if that was an opportunity, and
Yeah, we definitely welcome them.
I would be very concerned for safety, having adults in the school children in our school district with our students.
I'm just saying it doesn't look transparent to not allow parents to come in during school hours for a tour if they're a prospective parent. It looks like, not transparent.
In the past, when I've wanted to visit the school, I've always had an open invitation. You can tell your friends they can reach out to administration and set up a time. I'm sure Meredith would be more than happy to give a tour.
I just think if people reached out, I don't know if we have a policy on that or if it would just be on a case-by-case basis, but is that something that would be been covered in a board policy?
It's all at the discretion of the building.
Okay.
leaders.
Okay.
And the availability too.
That'd be enough for me to share with people that are asking. But I do think that we should have an opportunity for parents to come in during school hours. Prospective parents.
What public school has that?
The school where I teach, in Northern Kentucky, and we're highly competitive. We have tours come through every day, at least in the fall.
Aren't you a charter school?
We're a public school. We have parents coming in. Parents, community members, anybody can request a tour.
Any other discussion for board coordination?
I got my coordination.
Oh, I'm sorry, Seth.
That's all right.
Didn't mean to skip you.
For the FMPA, it's actually the FMPA's hearing with the PTAs. Students are saying, if you have time to donate, that'd be great. In the short term, if you have time to Skyline on February 6th, please go to Skyline because that's their dime to donate. Actually, the alumni, the Finntown Alumni Network, they're meeting actually probably right now. So unfortunately, I can't really, yep, they're probably finishing right now. So I can't really say what was going on since I'm missing that, unfortunately. But if you don't have to be alumni to be part of the fan club for Finntown, so to finntownalumni.org. And they're also going to have a event on March 5th at the Mad Tree at 5 p.m. Since this is also, I want to talk about it, if we can also schedule it in March, probably, since we got a lot of things to cover on the 13th. I would like to have a discussion about, sorry, let me go back to it before I misquote it. 5136, definitely .01. I know there are some concerns, and we had a hiccup with that recently. With one, again, I did talk to the coach, the wrestling coach. He was very cryptic, and so he didn't say much. But it was the students that I get a chance to talk to that I found a little more information I probably should have found about. But our wrestling program is a great program. Our coaches are doing our best job, but students or teenagers are going to be teenagers. And I know if we had the policy in place right now, it wouldn't have stopped it. It would probably slowed it down. But I also hear, when I started listening more what's going on with the social media part of some issues that we're having, I'm also hearing some things that's going on in the FE with social media in the middle classes and everything else. So I would like to have a conversation with the building principals and all the administration possible, just to see how we can get this policy going as fast as possible, so we can help get so we can help with will help with everything that a controlled cell phone policy does help with the discipline issues, helps focus the kids because they're not playing, not Snapchatting or keeping streaks going right in the middle of class, which I know that happens. Kids are kids. And so I would like to see what we can do to get that policy going so we can be more proactive. I'm saying this because 20 years ago I was a staff member here, and I saw that the rules, we had cell phone policy, and the kids ignored it and because we had one or two teachers that say, whatever, and then those few teachers turned into a couple teachers, and it's kept snowballing. And from the rumors I'm hearing from some staff and from some students, it's starting to snowball. I'm not saying it's terrible and everything else. I'm not waving the flag saying this is awesome, this is horrible. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, as a board, I want to be supportive, and I feel we should need to be on top of it as fast as possible.
So I will just point out a couple of things. I think one, we've got to be really cautious about operating on rumors. I think number two, we have to be incredibly cautious about trying to control something that we can't control, such as kids' use of phones, particularly during after-school hours. Mm-hmm. Our kids have, and they will continue because there is access to social media. Me, our parents and families have to work with us on having conversations with their children about how they use that out of the school. I think we need to be careful to think that we're going to solve something by creating something that is a no tolerance and that's going to be a management nightmare. To be quite honest, and Carol's not here to ask this, but I do know the feedback, I think our discipline shows it, it has been better, and I do think part of that is because of the cell phone policy. And we do plan on moving towards what Carol and the secondary campus are implementing this year.
Could you refresh us what that is? Because I don't.
It's essentially no phones during the school day, including at lunchtime and transition. And so now, are there people who are not following it? Yes, we probably have staff who are not following it because it is also supposed to be for our staff. So I think I just want to caution the board to try to control and implement something that, yes, we need to make sure our kids do not have, they're not on their phone during instruction. And if they are, we have policies in place and practices to handle that.
Will there be policies in place to protect the staff? A lot of staff members use their cell phone for like class dojo or, I emailed my child's teacher today, I
That's
messaged
fine
her.
during their plan bell, but during instructional time, we're asking our kids not to be on it.
I
We
get
as
that.
the adults should not be on it. So I know that's something Carol's trying to practice. I know our secondary staff's doing a great job with it, but I feel like we just have to be cognizant of the fact that these things are attached to all of us. We all have our phones within a foot of us, and our kids are the same way. And so I just would throw that caution out there. And the fact that we are operating on what you yourself classified as rumors. So I just think we need to be cautious.
So what if that you're talking about for next year, Seth? Sorry, that's what I didn't.
Well, it's becoming law, first off. And the fact that,
I'm sorry to interrupt. Isn't the law just that we have to have a policy of kind?
We just have to have a policy.
So it's really just a building principal discretion.
That's what our
and
current
admin.
policy says.
And it's probably going to stay that way.
I think we're going to move
I guess-
more to restrictive.
But I guess I don't see where we
So-
need as a
so-
board to weigh in on that
so
particular.
the reason, again, we had building rules 20 years ago. I was a substitute teacher there. And I've been told with the teachers, the staff that was there, the ones that were trying to enforce it, they were struggling with getting a relationship with the teacher, with the students, because they're the ones being mean and not allowing it. But if it becomes a policy, first off, if it becomes a policy, then it's not just sitting on the shoulders of oh, this teacher's being rude. It's sitting also not just sitting on the policy. This principal's being rude. It's sitting on the fact that us as a board say that we are going to make sure that education is a priority.
Got it.
And the cell phones, that attached to our hips. And again, I know it's not going to stop it. The hope is to slow it down. But the idea
I
is.
think it has this year.
Oh, it has. You
Yeah.
can see it right there.
Yeah.
But,
So basically what you're saying is you want to really just set up, make a statement or a policy.
I just want to make more of a statement. I want to have an honest discussion if we can spend some time with the principals and make sure that at the end of the day, I want to make sure this becomes a full policy that at the end of the day, that the teachers and the principals and the superintendents and even the treasurers are not being yelled at by it, but the board turn around and say, distractions need to be put away. It shows how the cell phone, putting the cell phone down, does with the discipline, and eventually we will also see it with our test scores start rising this way.
So can I say, what you're proposing is that we as a board,
if we can
take whatever they're currently doing, make it a board policy so we get the flack and not the principals?
Yeah.
And, okay, that's the proposal?
and that's what at the end of the day, that's what I'm asking.
So my question.
Am I going, I think I'm going faster than what Dr. Banks really wants me to go.
What
We're already
would be,
doing it, so I don't know.
yeah, what would be the reasons for us not to do that?
We're going to do it anyway. We're already doing it. What we plan to put into policy, and that is restrictive, is already happening at our secondary campus.
I'd like to say 3 points. One, when you talk about 20 years ago, Facebook was colleges only, invitation only, no social media really existed.
No Snapchat.
I got my first smartphone, I think, and it wasn't even a smartphone, it was, I don't even know what PDAs or something. Very different time period. So, yeah.
It got worse.
It for sure. But I also remember having a phone and having a teacher say no phones did not stop kids from doing it. They just learned to hide it better. They're tools. You can misuse tools, or you can teach kids to use them responsibly and in healthy ways. There are other tools that you can put on there to help with that, and I think that the school has a really good opportunity to do that. I see kids at CPS right now, Cincinnati Public, they have to use the Yonder pouches that they put in the pouches, and they hide their good phones elsewhere.
Those things don't help.
They don't do anything. Kids have learned that if they throw the Yonder couch in a certain way, they can bust it open. Are they busting their phones? Probably. There are ways around it, and kids are learning to circumvent the rules because they don't like them. So whatever we do, we have to go slow. We have to make sure that we incorporate families, teachers, and students so that they get behind it too. Because these kids know that these phones are unhealthy. They know it, but they don't know how to get away from it. We don't know how to get away from it. It is a complex situation that requires time to get it right. And my recommendation is, if you want to talk to the principals, if you want to talk to students, if you want to talk to staff, parents, community, this is an excellent topic for a Proaction Cafe.
I said the same thing today.
Sorry.
Okay. Well, that was good.
I'm encouraged that staff are held to the same standard. That's good.
I
Anything
appreciate-
else for board
No,
coordination?
I appreciate the conversation.
Okay, we got to move along. Item number 9, financial matters. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Oliverio, could you walk us through the financial report?
Okay, first item, financial report. For the general fund, in the month of December, total revenues were $613,991. Fiscal year-to-date revenues, $11,033,187. Expenditures in December were $1,579,306. And fiscal year-to-date expenditures, $11,122,654. Cash balance in the general fund at the end of December, $13,898,797. Item B, depository and investment balances as of December 31st, 2024. U.S. Bank, $415,342. U.S. Bank Construction Fund, $1,859,868. Star Ohio Construction Number 1, $3,058,423. Star Ohio main account, $25,979,542. Star Ohio Construction Number 2, $3,263,694. Star Ohio State Share, $4,035,459. Item C, the interest earned on depository investment accounts for December. General fund, earnings $99,746. Construction fund, $25,342, and I've also added the classroom facilities fund, which is Fund 10, $16,197. And the reason I'm adding that is because of this budget amendment that's before the controlling board for the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission. They're going to allow us to have the interest earned from that account as part of this budget amendment. So that's a nice thing. So item D is the monthly bond project spending commitment report. Be the last page of the financial report. I've changed this report a little bit each month, so it always looks different. I'm always trying to find the perfect report. But anyway, if you look at the bottom, I've got sort of a summary of what's going on. We've got total proceeds of about $61 million to build both buildings, Finneytown Elementary and Finneytown Secondary. We've expended $25.3 million thus far. Cash available is still $35.9 million. Of course, this includes the money that's coming from the state, and most of that is coming on this second project because we paid for the elementary and now they're going to pay for most of the secondary campus. As far as LFIs, we had $9.2 million available to us. We've got about $2.1 million for those. Those are locally funded initiatives for us to be able to spend however we want. Not all of those are being spent on the building. Some's allocated for ball fields and things like that, but that is money available to us to help supplement the project. So that's where we stand right now. Item E is a recommendation to approve an invoice to Modern Office Methods as listed. This is for paper cut, which is a program that helps us to manage that very efficiently.
Let's say we're holding the hands of people that got paper cut.
Yeah, interesting name, isn't it? Item F is a recommendation to approve a transfer from the general fund to the classroom facilities fund in the amount of $148,291. This is the local share that's connected to the budget amendment. So we put up this amount, and then they're going to put up over $1 million. And that's all I have. Are there any questions?
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. McMullen?
Yes.
Mr. Ray?
Yep.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Plow?
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Item number 10, superintendent recommendation. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay. Brings us,
Item A is acknowledgement of resignation. Item B is approval of payment for a certified staff member from Core. C is approval of payment for a classified staff member for Winter Guard. We have a revision of payment for item D. Item E is approval for academic supplementals. Item F is approval of contracts for supplementals for athletics. G is approval for our overnight trip that our students go to in Mackinac coming up in May. Item H is approval for substitute teachers through our sub-solution. Item I is the second reading and adoption of those policies listed there. And J is a recommendation for the board to accept the following donations: a cash donation of $200 to Finneytown High School Art Department from Conover Dental, I believe I said that right, which there should be a post coming up. They do a great job. They post our students' artwork in their office and support our art department in great ways and our students. So, and then also the acceptance of a trumpet valued at $100 to the Finneytown Local School District Music Department from Scott Harlemer.
okay.
I have a question on the attendance policy.
Okay.
What is the plan, or do we have a plan thought of when a student who is having some Muslim or holidays during testing? How does that plan?
So if it's during the testing window, we'll work with them to make it up. If it does not allow for that, we have students that won't test. It just depends. There is, and the policy is not in here, that's coming in our winter update, the policy allowing for missed school for religious expression, and so that's coming up, and will probably be brought to you guys in February or March. We just scheduled that with Neola today, who's our policy person? I'll send it to you. And then, so yeah, that would be, we do everything we could to work with that student and that family to make sure that they could take the test. There's makeup session, makeup periods of time too. We have about a 2-week span. I think a week. So, yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? We have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Ray?
Yep.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Plow?
Yep.
Ms. McMullen?
Yes. All right, motion passes. Moving on to item number 11, review of action steps. I don't have anything. I know we need to get back on the calendar for the board self-assessment, but other than that, I couldn't think of.
What, in the special meeting, just so I can work with Latora to get that.
And that is
posted?
February 13th at 5:30.
All right, and then I'll work with you, Jaleesi, on the.
That's an entirely public meeting. There's no executive session, or is there?
That's just a special meeting.
Yeah, I don't know what's executive.
No, I'm just
what we'll
asking.
be discussing, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now that I just wanted to know for my reference to know what to expect.
Okay. I will skip to item number 13, announcements. The next regular meeting of the Finneytown Board of Education will take place on Tuesday, February 18th at 6:30 in the library of the Brent Elementary Office. 8791 Brent Drive, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45231. Open forum will begin at 6 o'clock. Can I have a motion for item number 14, adjournment?
Well,
Well, we have to go into 12. We have to
Well-
go into executive session. We adjourn after that.
Okay, but typically, I know in the past, Lindsay's adjourned before we've gotten out of executive session, I thought.
No.
No, we have to vote to go in.
I think you could just say that there's no further.
Okay, no further
public-
discussion, so you are free to go. Thanks for coming, everybody. All right, moving, may I have a motion for item number 12?
So moved.
Also,
All right.
with the vote.
When the